Right, apologies for that. Can you hear me now? Because I think I sorted something out and I think you can hear me now. So let me know in the live chat if you can actually hear me, because otherwise there's no use of me continuing this. So let me just quickly check as well, because I've had some technical issues, but I assume they're sorted. Right. Yes, I can hear myself. Can you guys hear me? Because I can hear myself throughout my phone. Apologies for that. I sorted my mic out. It wasn't plugged in. Tiring day at school. Apologies. Now, I want to focus today, obviously, as I always say it. We have officially got 4 days remaining to the January transfer market window. So, do we expect something? And I feel like I'm going to start off today's live stream with the Diawara deal, because I feel like I mentioned what's happening with Diawara and how Diawara has complicated the entire situation, but I feel like I only mentioned it and I need to go on more depth, because I have a feeling it's something to definitely discuss especially now that the transfer market is coming to an end. We have bought 2 players which Mourinho needed, which the club in general needed, Oliveira and Maitland-Niles. We have bought them, but at the same time, do we expect something else? And that is exactly what Diawara is complicated, basically everything. And I've mentioned this in many live streams, but I want to talk about it at the start of this live stream first, because Diawara, what's happening with Diawara, right? Diawara came back from AFCON about 2 days ago. He came back from AFCON 2 days ago because he lost the derby against Darboe. Gambia got through, Guinea got out of the AFCON, so he's back in Italy. And in these next couple of days, starting from today, Thiago Pinto has had direct contacts with him and his agents. Because Mourinho, Thiago Pinto, and I feel like the fans also have understood that we don't need him. And I think I would give him another chance. I would possibly try and start him one more time, because I have a feeling he's not that bad, right? I think, I think he's not the worst. I would give him another chance. But unfortunately, Mourinho, the chances he gave him, he wasn't that convincing. And Mourinho and Thiago Pinto are now trying to convince him to leave Roma, because it will be, it will definitely benefit him, because they've made it clear that he's not needed anymore. And he can't expect to stay at Roma and play football. So what Thiago Pinto is trying to do in these days, now that Diawara is back from AFCON, is talking to him, having direct contacts between and his agents, and convincing Diawara, because all that is stopping Diawara from leaving Roma is his own desire of staying here, and he has basically refused all the offers he has received, and he has received a lot of offers. He's received offers throughout the Serie A, many clubs in the Serie A, which I think he can be a big part of. For example, Venezia, who's fighting to not get relegated. I think having a midfielder like Diawara could be great for Venezia. Torino want him. Sampdoria want him. Salernitana, who's fighting for relegation, want him. And then he's had offers from England, from the Championship. Fulham want him. Fulham are fighting to get promoted in the Premier League. I feel like Diawara in these clubs can be a massive, massive part, of their objectives. If you ask me, if Diawara was also interested, Valencia was also interested in Diawara, but we'll talk about Valencia in a sec. I feel like Diawara is such, he's such an innocent guy. He hasn't done anything, but he's complicated things which I think could be avoided to be complicated. Because if Diawara leaves, Roma will buy another player, and that is basically, Thiago Pinto has said that, Mourinho has said that. if we sell someone, maybe I do expect other players. But the problem is selling Diawara, which has complicated everything. Now, Valencia was interested in him. However, Valencia have acknowledged the fact Diawara hasn't given them a quick response. Diawara has basically said, hasn't directly said it, but has made it understandable that he doesn't want to join Valencia. So Valencia have now pointed their eyes on Moriba on a loan, Barcelona player on loan for Leipzig, and then Ndombele. So Diawara going to Valencia is kind of excluded. Because what the problem is now is that, so many clubs have encountered Diawara, right? But Diawara has refused all of these clubs. So the problem now is that all of these clubs which could hypothetically buy Diawara and are willing to buy Diawara are now pointing their eyes on different players, which basically makes it even harder for Roma to sell Diawara. The problem is, what I'm trying to make it clear to you guys, is that the transfer market in the January transfer window will not proceed, and we cannot expect other players if Diawara does not leave the club. There are other players like him, Santon and Fazio, or exactly like him. But unlike Diawara, their value is way lower. And even if we were to sell him, the amount of money that we would get from those deals would not then help us, to buy new players. This is it's complicating because Diawara is just complicating, weird situations which should not be complicated. Because if I were Diawara, yes, football nowadays is all about money, but why would I want to stay at a club if a manager has made it clear that he's not intending of playing me and starting me anymore? The transfer agent Thiago Pinto has made it clear that he needs to leave. So, as I repeat, I have nothing against him. He's such an innocent guy. He's such, a handsome, bright lad in that midfielder. But he's complicated things which are not meant to be complicated. Especially when it comes to a player like Diawara. I understand things being complicated for a player like Zaniolo and stuff. Because he's a big part of Roma. But complicated stuff for Diawara is literally written in a comic book. Diawara, now, what is happening is that, AS Roma obviously wants to buy another player. Because the more players we buy, the more squad depth we improve. And the longer we can fight for trophies. Roma wants to buy other players, but unfortunately their economic and financial position doesn't permit them to have all of these players, not sell anyone, and continuously buy other players. PSG have offered Danilo Pereira. Now, we're not talking about buying him here. We're not talking about paying PSG to buy this guy. Obviously, that's the case. But PSG have offered Danilo Pereira. It's like me going, there you go, you want this pen? There you go, just give me £2 and you can keep it. The fact that PSG is offering Danilo Pereira means that they're not interested in it anymore. His value is dropped. And third of all, if they're offering someone, they're not pretending that the club will accept that offer and pay millions and millions and millions and billions and billions and millions of pounds. If someone is offering you something, then you expect them to want to get rid of this guy and will accept a low bid. Frankly speaking, when it comes to the experience, if you compare the two players, Pereira is 100% better than Diawara. He is someone who is currently playing for PSG, aka being around very well experienced players. He is someone who has been part of the Portuguese national team, actually who is part of the Portuguese national team, big part of the Portuguese national team, big part of their defensive midfielder. He is the defensive midfielder that Roma lacks. Now, we've said in other live stream that it could be argued that Roma needs to focus on buying a centre-back. But if someone's offering Danilo Pereira, I would definitely not waste a chance. He's not quick. And I'm reading some comments in the chat. I totally agree on that. He, when it comes to movement and physique, I'd say, is pretty similar to Cristante. But something that he has and Cristante doesn't have is the experience, and something which Cristante doesn't have and he has is the bond with Sergio Oliveira. Both are Portuguese. Sergio Oliveira has played 3 matches in this area, scored 2 goals, an immediate impact he gave. If he has another player which he knows extremely well, coming from the same country, speaking the same language, things could be easier. And the experience, as I said before, he brings could make us hypothetically, virtually win the Europa Conference League. Obviously, football is not that easy. You know, it's not as if you have experienced players and you win everything. There needs to be a limit of hard work as well. But obviously, the more experienced players we have, the better. Now, something else I want to point out is that Danilo Pereira, obviously, if he were to come at Roma, I strongly believe that one of the two out of Cristante and Veretout will leave this summer. I'm not saying now, I'm saying this summer. If Danilo Pereira comes to Roma, guaranteed one between Veretout and Cristante will leave. So, you know, situation is this. Transfer market in January, you know, we've got 4 days left. If Diawara doesn't leave, and I highly doubt he will in these 4 days, nothing is going to happen. But we're wasting chances because PSG are basically saying, take this guy. And for a club like Roma, Danilo Pereira could improve a lot of stuff. You know, I think he is better than Diawara. He's better than Cristante in my opinion. So I think Mourinho would 100% take this. You know, he's Portuguese. And he has, you know, we've seen Mourinho being interested in many various different Portuguese players. Sergio Oliveira, you know, I see Mourinho wanting to bring some of his own culture inside Roma. He knows Pereira very well. Pereira also played for Porto, which is a club which Mourinho knows extremely well. So, you know, things could be way easier if Diawara packs his bags, takes a plane and leaves. You know, I feel as if basically the only thing Diawara cares about is standing in front of the Colosseum, then you know what? I feel like Thiago Pinto should work on a loan. Because I feel like Mourinho's made it clear that he's not interested in Diawara, but if Diawara really cannot survive, cannot live if he's away from Rome, then we can try and loan him out, and PSG could loan Danilo Pereira, and we could have a sort of exchange. You know, I feel like as if Diawara right now really wants to stay at Roma. The thing which he doesn't realize, which I think a 3 years old, and I'm not exaggerating here, would probably realize, is that he's not going to play. And I don't get why his desire is to stay here if everyone around him has made it clear that he's not going to play. You are not gonna play. So, you know, what? I mean, it's hard to make sense, to be honest with you. It's like saying this. I'm gonna give you a lollipop, but don't you dare eat that lollipop. You know, it's the exact same situation. You know, why would you take a lollipop if you can't eat it? It's just, I can't figure this out. And the negative, there are definitely more negatives than positives, is that this sole player is complicated the entire situation. And this gives me a sense, this gives me an impression that in a way he's trying to purposely complicate stuff for Roma. This is not where I'm going, you know. I totally respect the Diawara, you know, he's such an innocent guy, as I said. But I get the impression he's kind of making things worse for Roma by not accepting some bits. And we're getting those Nzonzi deja vus back again. You know, we're getting those extremely selfish bitch Nzonzi vibes again. You know, Nzonzi was possibly, hands down, one of the worst players in the history of this club. You know, Nzonzi on the ball, in compared, Cristante was Lewis Hamilton on a fucking Formula car. You know, Nzonzi on the ball was it literally talking back to the medieval times before we passed that ball. Nzonzi was such a slow player. He already had a very, very complicated attitude. He already had a very complicated relationship with the fans, which in a place like Roma is extremely important. And Nzonzi just wouldn't accept bids. It was that bitch attitude. You know, like, it was exactly that attitude which, when Mourinho came and he was on the phone with Thiago Pinto, because they communicate with each other many times throughout the day. It's one of those situations where Mourinho would have gone, "Hey Thiago, yep. Hey Thiago, yep. Nzonzi's being a little bit of a bitch. Nzonzi's being a little bit of a bitch. It's that situation. Nzonzi would not leave Roma for £1 million more, £1 billion. He just purposely wanted to complicate stuff with his team. He then eventually ended up, accepting a bid which brought him in Qatar, where he bloody earns £55 billion a year. That was how much it took him to convince and accept the bid. And I just hope, I genuinely pray up there that this is not the same situation that Diawara is trying to operate. Because otherwise, then he's just complicated the entire stuff. And yeah, so I'm not liking this attitude Diawara is having. He knows he's not going to play. Accept the bloody bid, go play football, and forget about money. I mean, no, not money. Forget about being at Rome for a sec. You're not going to die if you're not here. So, situation now is this. We've got 4 days until the transfer market ends. Is it 4 days? Does it end in... I might be saying absolute bullshit here. Does it end in 4 days? I mean, January ends in 4 days. Maybe it ends around mid-February, end of February. I'm not sure. But what we have now is Roma wanting to really finalize a last bit, And now Kamara and Dombele, all of these names have dropped down. The two names which are popping up in these last few hours are Xhaka, which is remaining fire, and Danilo Pereira. Out of the two, I can see Mourinho wanting Xhaka more than Danilo Pereira because he's way faster on the ball and he's way more aggressive. But these two players wouldn't mind me. I do think both of them are better than Cristante. So yeah, I mean, transfer news is this. So it all depends on Diawara. If we want to see another player on the January transfer window, then head over to Diawara's Instagram and in the comments, just write, "Please leave Roma." All you need to do is that. So yeah, it all depends on Diawara. But basically, what is happening is that PSG have offered Danilo Pereira. It's an offer. It's a present. It's a gift. And unfortunately for Diawara, we can't accept it right now. So yeah. Right, let's read some comments. Plenty of experience, can play DM and CB. Yeah, exactly. This is something to point out. This is a sort of buy one for the price of two, because he can play as a centre back as well. So it would kind of end both positions in a way, because he can play both positions as a defensive midfielder and a centre back as well. Danilo is slow as Cristante. I agree. Sign him, but he's not as good as Paulinho. And when Badu, it isn't slow. If you're facing a team like Inter and Milan, we should cancel Santon's contract. Yeah, we should just, I don't know. We should, I mean, Santon is a god. We were talking about Diawara, complicated stuff. Santon is even making it more impossible. I mean, I understand no one wanting to buy Santon because he's so bad, but, I would maybe end his contract. I agree with you. Saka is impossible. Wake up. Xhaka, not Saka. Obviously not Saka. Saka to Roma would be in our dreams. Xhaka, Xhaxa. Switzerland midfielder. Yeah, he probably meant Xhaka. Yes, indeed. So yeah, lads and lasses, it all depends on Diawara. So if we want to expect someone else, Diawara needs to leave. Otherwise, bye-bye January transfer window, and we will need to adapt ourselves. Mourinho needs to adapt, himself to rotating and basically not having another centre back and another defensive midfielder. I mean, we do have Oliveira, things can be rotated, but another player would obviously be great. And something to say about Danilo Pereira is that his wages and the price Roma would pay are not high at all. So that's obviously a bonus factor. Right, lads and lasses, I will catch you tomorrow for another live stream. Please subscribe if you're new. You have to subscribe if you're watching this and you're not yet subscribed. Look at that. 40 subscribers away from 2,000 subscribers. Get it done. Share the link with your families and friends. Like this live stream as soon as it becomes a video as well. And follow me here on Instagram at Lower Score This Simon Show. And basically, comment in the comments as soon as it becomes a video, your impressions on Danilo Pereira. And I'll try my best to respond to some comments. Simon, I should play for Roma. You got it. You absolutely got it.